Now, public-private partnership has proven to be, an effective model for infrastructure and service delivery across the world. And various African countries have leveraged on PPPs, to address deficits in different areas of their government. Now, in Nigeria, however, despite the numerous frameworks, policies, and even a dedicated Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, the ICRC, PPP adoption remains low compared to the infrastructure needs of the country, and that leads to the question: why is Nigeria not embracing PPP? And talking to us about this issue is Mark-Adeyemi Adedayo. He's a certified PPP expert. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right. Now, many Nigerians are not entirely clear on what PPPs entail. So can you help us break down, in simple terms, what public-private partnership is and why it is important for Nigeria's development?
Thank you so much. The public represents the people, which is represented by the government. So it means services that government need to provide for the people. That's why it's public. The private means the private sector, operators, financiers, come to partner with government to provide such services. For example, water, energy, ports, roads, these are public goods. And the government has a social contract with the people to provide those things to the people because they are essential. But for several reasons, financial reasons, managerial capacity, bringing private sector with the enterprise spirit to make sure that those things are sustainable, then you need the private sector to partner with government at the federal level, at the state level, even at the local government level, so that these services can be sustained over time, and then we can have optimum efficiency. So basically, that's the simple description of PPPs. But it now comes in different shades and variants. Some of them you call the private sector to come and build a particular infrastructure, own it for some time, run it, and return the asset back to government after a period of time. Some you bring in the private sector to just engage in management. It can be a performance enhanced management where sometimes the private sector brings his money. Sometimes he enters into some level of agreement with you. If you achieve some milestones, then he gets paid and all that. But for that period, he manages it, he runs it, he maintains it, he provides the services, and some could come to the vertical level, maybe from source to customer, and some can also come, complementary and lateral level, like when I talk about the ports, where PPPs are in different terminals and different areas of operation of a port. So that's my simple description of PPPs.
When many people hear PPP, or when listeners hear about PPP, they become very much worried if it's privatization or a way for the elites, or should we say politicians, to enrich their pocket. So I want to understand, how fair is that perception, and how do you think we could rebuild the trust of the people?
I mean, naturally, when you're talking about PPPs, they require a political will of government. They require financing, both local and international financing. It could be local, but some of the time, because some of the things you need to import and all that, you may also need international finance. So it's an elitist thing, a business elitist thing, because you need money. And then when the financier is coming, he also wants to see demonstrated political will. So there's no way you can divorce this from business, from politics. There's no way you can divorce this. The most important thing is transparency, communication. When we communicate properly, when when uh, there's transparency in how you put it together, then you earn the public trust. So there's not supposed to be worries. It's only how we go about it at times in our climate that is a major problem, you know. So basically, that's one of the things that we need to address. But PPP itself is safe, is beautiful. It builds us out of supply gaps. We need to provide energy, we need to provide water, we need to provide good roads, we need to have trains. For example, in Nigeria, there's supposed to be trains all over the place. And if we wait for government revenue to achieve this, it's going to take a very long time. And the people will continue to suffer. Some of us who were young when we saw some roads being constructed, until date, those roads are not constructed. We desire that there could be trains all over the country, yet it's the level of kilometer of train to the traveling masses, it's so low. So to fill this supply gap, we need to actually encourage private sector operators, private sector financing, and maybe in the course of this conversation, there are so many structures in place, there are financial sources in place that are actually designed that could fit into PPP arrangement. But if we're transparent, if we communicate appropriately and communicate wide to all stakeholders, would earn their confidence, and they will know that ultimately it's for the public good. And I want to say this: if anybody is building a road, if anybody is building a water facility, if anybody is building a power plant or whatever under a PPP arrangement, and the arrangement is that this asset is coming back to the government in the next 15, 20 years. So the people should understand that in the next 15, 20 years, when they are getting old and their children are coming up, they will meet a working asset, because somebody has run it for 20 years on a business model. He has maintained it, he kept it working because it was bringing returns to him. At the same time, it's giving services to the people. So we're only helping ourselves to make sure that these services are available for a very long time.
All right. Now, despite having the ICRC and several other policies in place, the PPP uptake in Nigeria is still quite low. So, in your opinion, what do you think accounts for the slow adoption and implementation of public-private partnerships?
Yeah, I once talked about political will, and of course, this elephants in the country, the issue of corruption and all that. But basically, first of all, political will. A lot of our government officials are not enthusiastic about PPPs. There are regulatory agencies, like you rightly said. Even at the state level, some states already have PPP units, in their Ministry of Finance and all that. And but the first thing anybody wants to see is the political will, is the willingness to allow PPP contracts, even to identify it. There are many cases where we have approached state institutions. We've gone there with even financiers, and then you see it's either the governor is not really sure, or it's a commissioner, or it's the head of agencies. There's this feeling that you want to take away what belongs to us, and we keep saying that you have a sick baby that is dying, that is even dead in your hand. And we're saying, please, let's revive this baby. When the baby is matured, we return him back to you. They push you out, that baby remains dead. 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years down the line, they don't serve the people. and they don't allow somebody who has identified a business case to do so. So that political will is there, is always there. Then the corruption, and of course, the entire macroeconomic situation in the country. You're looking at the volatility of our exchange foreign exchange market, even inflationary trends and all that. So when you are dealing with outsiders, they can't actually plan because they don't know there could be a spike at any time. And of course, I need to talk about our judiciary system. Our judiciary, we need to earn the confidence of both local and international business people. But some of the time, even if you don't have a regulatory agency, agreements are sacrosanct. If they have a trust in our judiciary system, people will put in their money because they know that this judiciary is solid and is incorruptible. But when the perception index of the integrity of our judiciary is in question, you know, of course, there could be problem. Even when you are not sure the government is committed, or when you are sensing political risk, that the governor who is interested in PPP is going to last for another 5 years. You don't know if the coming Pharaoh will not know Joseph. But if you have confidence in the judiciary system and you have a very solid agreement, you don't mind if another governor comes. The agreements are there. We go to court and the court will do justice, you know. So, but for financing PPPs, I can tell you that there are sources of finance locally. Our providence fund, the pension fund, is massive, and that enough can do a lot. And then we are still good in the eyes of a lot of international players too. But when those little issues that bring risk elements comes into play, it often discourages private investors. Some of the time too, the investors too are also guilty. They don't prepare well. They overpromise in terms of their models. They don't study the system. They just rush into a sector without knowing the inherent risk in the sector. They don't know the operational risk. Maybe because it's somebody in government that beckoned them to just come into a business that they don't know anything about. So all those are procurement issues. Even when you are real and you come and you find out that you are competing with, fair competition with somebody else.
All right, Mr. Mark, still speaking on the regulatory bodies, how do you think, what do you think that these regulatory bodies are doing? Are they really doing what they should do? What is the procedure or method of keeping these public and private bodies in check, especially in the area of accountability and transparency?
The little I know about some of the regulatory bodies is that they have qualified people, they have framework, beautiful standard operating procedures and all that. We've seen that in a lot of our regulatory bodies. But then, when it comes to at the individual decision-making level and all that, the law needs to be strong about punishing people who break the law. So basically, you cannot rule out that there could be one or two corrupt persons or practices, somebody making unnecessary demands and all that, But if at the overall level, people know that when push turns to shove, I have a court to run to. And then, of course, the government needs to be intentional about convincing investors that they won't condone any kind of misbehavior, across the sector within the value chain. So it's important. The government needs to be a leader in this. So more often than not, when people, appointees, civil servants, even legislators, when they know that the man at the top really wants things to be done, they